This camera has a special place in my heart, as it was the first camera I bought when I first got gas. That's gear acquisition syndrome, not that other stuff. It's a beautiful little manual focus auto exposure point and shoot camera. The AGFA Optima Sensor Electronic is the last of the series of the Optima sensor range. It is identical to the predecessor, the Optima Sensor 535. By the time this came out, AGFA had moved production from Germany to Portugal. It has a fixed 40mm 2.8 lens, which was quite standard for the time. Looking at the front of the lens, you can see the ring and the window for setting the film speed. The two cells at the bottom are the CDS cells for the light meter. They're within the filter ring, so there's no need to compensate for filters. There are two other rings on the lens. The innermost ring sets the aperture when using flash. This ranges from f2.8 to f22 in the usual steps. The other ring is for focusing. You can set focus in one of two ways. The first way is by using the icons. You can use the mountain for infinity focus, group shot, which is about 3.5 meters, single person portrait, which is at 1.5 meters. It is possible to focus even closer by using the second way, by actually using the focus distance guide. You can see the numbers by turning the camera upside down. They're at the bottom of the lens. The camera can focus as close as 0.9 meters, which isn't bad at all. The Optima Sensor Electronic takes a standard 35mm film. Loading the camera with film is done the usual way. By moving the lever on the side, the back pops open. There is one unusual bit though. The film is loaded on the right side instead of the left side, as is common with most cameras. This means that the film is also loaded upside down. However, as the frames are used, the exposed frames get moved into a covered chamber that protects the film from ruin if the camera back was accidentally opened. That's a massive plus. The battery compartment is also located in the back of the camera. Talking of batteries, it takes 3 625 type equivalent batteries. Once the camera is closed, the camera winds to the first frame and the frame counter is reset. The frame counter is on top of the camera right next to the shutter release. The shutter release button is a special aspect of this camera. It has a large surface area and is bright red. It has earned the Optima Sensor the title of the other red dot camera. The shutter itself is a two-bladed leaf shutter, which means it's quite quiet. The shutter speed ranges from 1/30th of a second to 1/500th of a second. The film advance is manual, using the wind crank. Another peculiarity of this camera is that the film advance crank is also the rewind crank. The function of the crank is changed by turning the rewind dial to the R position. There is a hot shoe on top of the camera for mounting accessories such as flash. When using the flash though, the aperture has to be manually selected on the camera, so you ought to know what you're doing. Composing a shot with the Optima Sensor Electronic is a pleasant experience thanks to the very bright, very large Optical Viewfinder. It's so large in fact that it is easy to mistake it for an inbuilt flash by an onlooker. There are bright frame and parallax guidelines, as well as a red LED light that signifies a slow shutter speed. The green LED light means you're good to go. The tripod mount is on the side. Yet another quirk of this camera. It means the camera mounts in portrait mode only, unless you have one of those tripods that can swivel horizontally. The tripod socket also serves as the screw-in point for the neck strap. That's basically all there is to this camera. AGFA intended to design a simple, foolproof, yet good quality camera. And that's what the Optima Sensor is. It's made of solid metal, but coated in plastic, giving it a kind of modern look. The plastic coating means that the metal is protected from rust. It uses alkaline batteries, which are widely available today, which means your exposure is as intended. The first time I used this camera, I got perfectly exposed, but out of focus shots mostly. I also got the framing completely wrong. It was early days and I didn't understand the parallax error thing very much. Subsequently though, once I figured all of that out, this camera became a little champion. giving perfectly exposed shot after shot after shot. The bright viewfinder also makes the composing a great experience, even indoors. I'm not really a flash guy, however, so I haven't tried it with flash. The idea of manual flash settings gives me migraines. All in all, it's got a few quirks to it, but none of them is bad really. They just give the camera a kind of unique character that makes it stand out in the crowd. Just like that big red button. Until next time, Odabo.